UN News.
So celebrations, Collin. Ding dong, the Dick is dead. Dick Cheney has officially died, which is nice. Isn't that nice? I don't know if you were around for the Cheney years, right? Like,
Yes, in college. College.
Him shooting people with shotguns and all that fun stuff. Great times. Just, I mean, about millions of people dead at the hands of his decisions, but, whatever. 50 Shades of Way, the demonic entity known as Dick Cheney, who had a perversion for torturing humans, has departed his mortal coil after 84 years. Countless people, including American soldiers, were senselessly murdered to maximize Cheney's profits based on broken intel. I think it was not broken. I think they knew what it was. After trillions of lost dollars in public funds, mass displacement, and one global crisis after another, the shadow president from hell is directly responsible for a lot of the misery and suffering we see in the world today. May the ghost of his victims haunt his soul for eternity. My heart goes out to all the families of the people he got killed. So, Branko Marcetic, lots of Cheney obits will probably lean heavily on the criticism of Trump, but it is Trump, his assertions, the president is king, his blowing up random boats in international waters, his plans to bomb and invade his South American neighbors. That's Cheney's true legacy. That and this. Post 9/11, wars have contributed to some 4.5 million deaths, report suggests. Pretty much at his hands. So, yeah. Nice that we get to put him in the ground. Alan McLeod, now is a good time to remember that Dick Cheney's post 9/11 wars kills conservatively 4.5 million people and displaced over 38 million more, according to a study by Brown University. Yep. So, I mean, 4.5 to 4.7 million people and counting. Like, I don't think people really understand how many people that is. Like, It's really hard to try to visualize numbers like that. Bryce Green, the New York Times obituary for Cheney is a crazy piece of propaganda. Not a single criticism of his murderous policies, full acceptance of his alleged desire to defend the Constitution. They also claim he wanted to expand democracy around the world. Husseini weighing in, well, the New York Times was a partner in Cheney manipulating the public into invading Iraq. He leaked disinformation to the paper about Iraq trying to get nukes, and then cited the leak as reason to evade. I mean, you remember the, whole, tubes on the cover of the front, New York Times, weapons of mass destruction or whatever. Big headline. Jax Page, friend of the show, this is Dick Cheney's legacy. He was a war criminal, an inhumane, vile monster, and had the blood of millions on his hands. So this is just the displaced people, right? Not even the killed people. So 9.2 million out of Iraq, 7.1 million out of Syria, 5.3 million out of Afghanistan, 4.4 million out of Yemen, 4.2 out of Somalia. Pakistan is 3.7 million, 1.7 million in the Philippines, and 1.2 million in Libya. As, his puppet would tell you. But I thought we should listen to Caitlin Johnstone's article on it. I feel like she kind of hit the nail on the head on this one. But her husband, Tim Foley, will be doing the reading for us. Appreciate you. Here we go.
Cheney should have died alone in a cage. Dick Cheney, arguably the single government official most responsible for the expansion of U.S. warmongering and militarism in the 21st century, has died. The worst war sluts of the U.S. empire have issued statements expressing their condolences, including Democrats like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Bill Clinton, and Nancy Pelosi. Because if there's one thing that can bring Democrats and Republicans together, it's war crimes and the slaughter of millions of Middle Easterners. Dick Cheney died far too old and far too free. The fact that such monsters get to pass away in their 80s, surrounded by loved ones, instead of alone in a cage, is an indictment of our entire civilization. In a truly sane society, Richard Bruce Cheney would have lived out his life in relative obscurity, working as a gardener or something. In a fairly sane society, people would have realized what a monster Cheney was before he could do any major harm in Washington, and he would have been driven out of any town he tried to enter. In a slightly sane society, he would have been punished for the rape of Iraq and lived out the rest of his life in a cell in The Hague. But we do not live in a truly sane society, or in a fairly sane society, or even in a slightly sane society. We live in the sort of society that lets a man unleash a chain of events which kills millions and displaces tens of millions, causing more human suffering than the mind can possibly comprehend, and then live out the rest of his life in comfort and privilege, with zero consequences of any kind. Dick Cheney is dead now, but his legacy lives on. The damage he did is still unfolding. The hegemonic, hyper-militaristic ideology he promoted has become the baseline norm. New swamp monsters have stepped in to fill his shoes and advance the same murderous and tyrannical agendas he advanced, confident that they too will suffer no consequences and live long and comfortable lives in reward for their loyal service to the U.S. empire. Dick Cheney left a stain upon our species that we will spend the rest of our lives trying to scrub out. All decent people want our world to move in the exact opposite direction he spent his entire blood-spattered career working to steer us toward. All decent people want to undo everything that Dick Cheney was. That said, the world actually does feel better without Dick Cheney in it. Feels a bit brighter, a bit lighter, kinder, gentler. I don't find comfort in the idea that Cheney is burning in hell now, because I do not believe in hell. I don't find comfort in the idea that the empire will become less murderous and abusive in Cheney's absence, because it won't. I find comfort in the fact that, after all these years, I am finally walking around on a planet that I do not have to share with Dick Cheney. It's a nice experience. Give it a try. Take a few steps and notice how you are at long last walking around on an Earth that doesn't have Dick Cheney on it. Look up at the sky and reflect on the fact that you and Dick Cheney are not living underneath that sky together anymore. Breathe deeply and think, today is the first day of life without Dick Cheney. It's pretty sweet. I find that something in me relaxes a bit. Something subtle in my animal body is very relieved that he is gone now. That's good enough for me. I'll take it.
I mean, does pretty well, don't she? She mentioned this, right, from old Cam, who's saddened to hear the passing of former Vice President Dick Cheney. Cheney was a devoted public servant from the halls of Congress to many positions of leadership in the multiple presidential administrations. His passing marks the loss of a figure who, with a strong sense of dedication, gave so much of his life to the country he loved. I mean, she was one of many. I know Biden, Pelosi, all of them put their obits for the guy, you know?
Right.
You replied, silence is an option, you know? No,
right.
they got to. Their donors would be upset if they didn't. Lisa Peace, this is why you can never lead the Democratic Party. He pushed a false narrative that resulted in the killing of 2 million wholly innocent Iraqis. He should not be mourned. He should be burned in effigy, as should all his apologists. Alan McLeod, it would be better to say nothing. So, yay. Yeah. Nick Estes, Dick Cheney's last presidential endorsement was Kamala Harris. That's less a testament to his ghoulish legacy as an architect of wars that killed hundreds of thousands, and more of a testament to how Democrats were partners in those crimes. Zay Squirrel, the genocidal Zionist war criminal Dick Cheney, is dead, but his crimes should never be forgotten. They include firing depleted uranium shells into Fallujah, still causing babies to be born with deformities and cancer. He then endorsed Kamala Harris, which she gleefully touted. Do you remember this, Collin? At this fucking debate, quote unquote?
This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney.
Might as well throw Kissinger in.
And I also want to thank your father, Vice President Dick Cheney, for his support and what he has done to serve our country. Every endorsement matters, and this endorsement matters a great deal, Liz, and it carries a special significance.
Fucking dude.
Pokemon, go to the pole.
Oh, sorry, wrong
You
warmonger.
just fell out of a coconut tree?
Wrong warmonger. I pressed the other warmonger button. Fucking. And just in case people forgot his legacy, this is what this guy was all about.
I'd do it again in a minute.
Cheney argued the methods, including prolonged periods of waterboarding, were necessary in the wake of the September 11th attacks and insisted the procedures were not torture.
Torture was what the al-Qaeda terrorists did to 3,000 Americans on 9/11. There's no comparison between that and what we did with respect to enhanced interrogation.
A fired-up Cheney called the report politically motivated, and that was his more tempered language.
I won't use the word on your show. It may be family. It's a crock. It's not true.
And he disputed the report's claim that the interrogation tactics provided no credible information.
Absolutely
All of
not.
this information in here, no seed of doubt that whether this worked or not.
It worked. It absolutely did work.
Uh-huh. And then cuts to a guy who was tortured in Vietnam. You know?
Right.
So he might have words to say about that. You know, I mean, this is Abu Ghraib. This is that entire era, right? So, Nico Cheney dying right as Mondani gets elected doesn't feel a little too familiar. Like the time Bush was out after doing such a horrible job, and the world cheered for Obama's victory because he was charismatic, assuming that inspirational words meant revolutionary policy. Yeah, sound familiar? I mean.
Yep.
Like same Same Husseini. Dick Cheney's not dead. He lives in every lie and crime the U.S. empire commits, every deceit towards war, every bit of illegal surveillance, every move of media manipulation. So the ghost of Cheney will still haunt us, you know, so be aware of that and look out for that. But you know, at least we get to bury his, you know, skin and bones. So, thoughts, Collin? Anything you got to add? You know?
No, I mean, again, I was surprised that you even wanted to talk about this guy at all. But
I just remember him being such a fucking dirtbag, you know? So,
sure.
Figured it was worth to at least celebrate, you know? But anyway, talking about things like this is why we're demonetized. So you can scan that QR code on your screen, go to ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, or links are in the description as always. But if you can't give monetarily, like and subscribe. You know where those buttons are. Hit the share button. It's right there next to it. Leave a comment. It's right there underneath. Shouldn't be hard. You know, let us know what you think, you know, but otherwise, thanks for watching.